Imagine for a moment that you are floating in the quiet before time began. There is no light, no sound, no distance, only potential. A universe waiting to breathe. Then, in a single, seamless instant, expansion begins. Not an explosion, not chaos, but an unfolding like a ripple, spreading through an endless sea. And within that ripple lies the first hint of a pattern that would repeat forever, motion that curves energy, that turns creation, that spins. The circle is born. Hey guys, tonight we're exploring the secret shape of the cosmos, why everything from stars to atoms turns round. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you'd like, share your location and local time in the comments below. I always love seeing where in the world you're listening from. Now, settle in. Let your breathing fall into rhythm. Slow, gentle, circular. Feel it move in and out in a perfect loop, because that simple motion, inhale, exhale, mirrors the same balance that built everything you'll ever know. Now, if you're ready, let's begin. The story of the circle begins with gravity, the universe's sculptor. When the first particles formed from that initial cosmic expansion, they didn't sit still. Every atom, every mote of dust carried a trace of the first movement. A faint spin left over from the way energy unraveled in every direction at once. Matter began to gather under the pull of gravity, but as it fell inward, it also turned. It couldn't help it. To fall was also to rotate. To gather was also to swirl. Picture it like a vast cosmic whirlpool, a cloud of ancient hydrogen slowly pulling itself together. As it contracts, it spins faster, just like a figure skater drawing in their arms. That simple principle of physics, conservation of angular momentum, writes the circle into everything that follows. The faster the spin, the rounder the form. And so stars ignite as spheres. Planets take shape from spinning disks. Even the tiny particles inside atoms orbit in invisible circles of probability. The universe, it seems, cannot stop turning. Everything that exists, from galaxies to grains of dust, inherits the same circular instinct to move in curves, never lines. Scientists have a poetic way of describing this. They call it isotropy, the idea that on a grand scale, the universe has no preferred direction. It is equally stretched in all ways, balanced and complete. And when matter fills such a universe, it finds equilibrium not in sharp edges, but in symmetry, the geometry of the circle. Even chaos eventually rounds itself out. Look up at the night sky. If you're lucky, you can see the moon glowing softly, a perfect circle in the darkness. That shape didn't just happen by accident. It's gravity at work, pulling equally from all sides, smoothing out roughness until only a sphere remains. It's the same reason droplets of water form little globes in mid-air, and the same reason your own eyes portals to consciousness are round. Because roundness is the universe's most efficient way of holding itself together. But beyond efficiency, there's something deeply comforting about it. Circles represent continuity. They have no corners, no beginning or end. They remind us that everything moves in cycles. The seasons, the heartbeat, the orbits of planets, the rise and fall of stars. Even time itself, when seen from far enough away, might be a loop forever folding back on its own story. Ancient cultures sensed this long before modern science could explain it. To the Egyptians, the sun god Ra sailed his round vessel across the sky each day, then descended into the underworld to rise again, an eternal circle of light and darkness. The Hindus saw existence as a wheel endlessly turning through cycles of creation and destruction. The Celts traced circles in stone to symbolize the balance between life and death. And even today, when we celebrate birthdays, we place candles on round cakes, an unconscious echo of those ancient cycles. One more orbit completed around the Sunday. Some physicists have speculated that the universe itself might be closed, that if you traveled far enough in a straight line, you'd eventually return to where you began. The cosmos as a sphere curving through dimensions we can't quite perceive. It's a humbling thought that everything, even space and time, might be looping gently in the dark. But you don't need to travel across the universe to feel that motion. It's within you too. Your blood flows in circuits. Your cells divide in spirals. Even your thoughts move in rhythmic patterns, looping through memory and imagination. You are in every measurable way a small universe made of turning parts. When scientists study galaxies, they find the same recurring theme. From our own Milky Way, a vast spiral of stars, to distant clusters, billions of light-years away, rotation governs structure. Every galaxy spins because the matter that built it once swirled under the same law that governs the tiniest atom. The roundness you see above your head at night is the same pattern written into the molecules of your body. The same symmetry that holds together the stars also holds together you. And perhaps that's why round shapes feel natural, even soothing. A circle is the softest boundary, the most complete. It holds without trapping, includes without dividing. When you look at the full moon or trace the shape of a ripple spreading through a pond, you're not just seeing geometry, you're seeing the echo of creation itself. Some scientists describe the early universe as a plasmasphere, perfectly uniform, glowing and hot beyond imagination. For the first few 100,000 years, light couldn't even escape. Everything was trapped in that dense, swirling brightness. Only when the universe cooled did photons break free, expanding outward in every direction at once. That light still traveling now fills the sky as the cosmic microwave background, a faint round glow surrounding us on all sides. In that ancient radiation, we see a perfect circle drawn across time. So when you think of why everything turns round, remember, it's not just gravity or motion or balance, it's memory. The universe remembering its own beginning, the first swirl that became everything. Take another slow breath. Let your chest rise and fall like the tides. That's your body's way of keeping time with the cosmos. Each heartbeat, each inhale, another small revolution in the great circle of being. And as your thoughts drift softer, now picture yourself as part of that symmetry, not apart from the universe, but inside it, turning with it. The planets spin, the stars revolve, the galaxies dance, and you, quietly breathing, belong to it all. The circle, it seems, is the universe's way of whispering, nothing ever truly ends. Everything simply turns. Imagine the universe as a vast sea, still and silent, suspended between being and nothingness. Then, without sound, without light, without even direction, something stirs. Not a violent burst, but a smooth unfolding, as if space itself exhaled. That breath is what we call the Big Bang, though the name is misleading. It wasn't a bang, it was a bloom, an expansion so gentle at first that it had no edge, no center, no flame, only motion. That motion would become everything. It's easy to think of the early universe as chaos, but within that chaos lay order, the kind of order only motion can bring. As energy cooled into matter, as heat turned into light, faint ripples, began to twist through the cosmic plasma. They weren't sound, not yet, but pressure waves, vibrations spreading through the newborn universe like invisible music. If you could somehow stand within it, you'd feel the universe humming, resonating through its own expanding body. Scientists call this the cosmic background radiation, the afterglow of creation. But hidden in that glow are patterns, minute variations that reveal how the first whirl of motion took shape. Where the energy was slightly denser, gravity began to gather it, spinning it ever so gently. Those small rotations became galaxies, stars, worlds. Without that first swirl, there would be no structure, no symmetry, no us. You can think of it like cream in coffee. Pour it in and watch how it curls, how threads of white spiral outward until they fade into the darker sea. The universe began much like that, mixing energy and matter in graceful swirling filaments that would one day stretch into galactic arms. Every atom in your body carries the trace of that first rotation. The same curve that once bent starlight now lives inside the shape of your DNA. At its core, the universe is circular because rotation is the simplest way for energy to remain in motion. Straight lines end, circles don't. Straight paths hit boundaries. Curves flow forever. Once the universe began to move, it couldn't stop turning. That's the law of angular momentum. Once a body begins to rotate, it keeps rotating unless something stops it. And in the emptiness of space, nothing does. Imagine a child spinning in an open field. Arms out, eyes closed. They twirl faster and faster. When they stop, the world seems to spin around them. That's inertia. Now magnify that to cosmic scale. Not one child, but an entire universe. Twirling in slow motion, each particle, a dancer, obeying the same rhythm. Every star, every atom, every galaxy carries that ancient spin forward like a shared memory. The cosmic microwave background, the faint radiation that fills all space, is the universe's oldest photograph. In it, scientists have detected subtle ripples that show where the first worlds began. These are not random marks. They're fingerprints of rotation, traces of the first gravitational dances. From these soft spirals came galaxies that still turn billions of years later in the same direction. It's as if the universe never stopped spinning from that first moment. We live in the afterglow of a gentle twirl that never lost its grace. Philosophers often speak of creation as birth from chaos, but the universe's chaos was always pregnant with pattern. That's what makes it beautiful. Out of the seeming disorder of plasma and light came something profoundly ordered: the circle. It didn't just appear by chance. It was the only shape that could hold expansion and balance, at once the perfect compromise between stillness and flight. Even today, physicists studying the large-scale structure of the cosmos find threads of galaxies stretching in loops and waves like frozen music. Some clusters seem to curve around empty voids, creating vast rings of matter, hundreds of millions of light-years wide. These cosmic webs are the universe remembering that first motion, still tracing the choreography it began at birth. And when we gaze into the night sky, what we see is not just light from ancient stars, it's motion frozen in time. Each pinprick of light is part of a turning system, orbiting something curving around gravity's invisible hand. Even the light itself travels in waves, looping endlessly through the fabric of space. In ancient myths, people tried to describe this feeling of motion that never ends. The Greeks imagined Kronos, god of time, devouring and rebirthing himself in a circle. The Hindus spoke of Brahma, exhaling universes in cycles of creation and destruction. The Maya measured eternity in wheels of suns. They all sensed what modern cosmology confirms, that time itself might be round-folding endlessly into the next beginning. Perhaps that's why we find spinning so hypnotic. The turn of a wheel, the flicker of a candle flame, the orbits of our dreams, they all speak to something deeper than the eye. We are comforted by rotation because it's how the universe breathes. So as you listen, let your thoughts slow down until they too begin to drift in circles. Imagine the first atoms forming from the cosmic mist, clustering, swirling, finding balance. Picture those glowing clouds turning faster and faster until they ignite. Feel the rotation of the earth beneath you, a vast cradle spinning gently through the dark. You're not separate from it. You're inside the same motion, born from the same first whirl. That is the secret. No telescope can fully capture that the universe is not expanding into space. It is space, stretching, curving, folding upon itself in endless arcs. We are not observers standing outside it. We are patterns within the spin part of the geometry that began when creation first decided to move. And maybe that's the quiet miracle of it all. That after billions of years, the same graceful rotation that birthed the stars still hums in the background of your breath. The same momentum that set galaxies in motion still turns the blood in your veins. The same circle that shaped the cosmos completes itself every time your heart beats. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel your pulse. Listen. That's not just you. That's the rhythm of the first whirl of creation. Still spinning, still serene, still home. When the newborn universe cooled enough for the first atoms to appear, something remarkable happened. Out of chaos came order. Out of pure light came structure. And within that structure, motion once again returned. Not a violent spin this time, but a quiet one, contained within every speck of matter. Every atom became a small echo of the universe itself, a center and a dance around it. You are made of these dancers, each one a miniature solar system, endlessly moving, endlessly circling. Inside an atom, electrons whirl around a nucleus of protons and neutrons like invisible planets, tracing perfect, silent orbits. They never stop. They cannot. Even when you are still, your body hums with this inner rotation, a cosmic rhythm continuing in secret beneath your skin. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself shrinking, drifting down into the microscopic world, past cells, past molecules, into the endless sea of atoms that make up everything you are. Down there, nothing is still. Clouds of probability shimmer and pulse around tiny cores of energy. Electrons do not move like planets on clean paths. They exist as possibilities, as blurred halos of motion. Yet that blur, that whirling uncertainty, is what gives you shape, color, breath, and thought. When Niels Bohr first described this atomic model in the early 20th century, he compared electrons to planets circling a star. It was a poetic guess, later refined by quantum mechanics, but the image remains irresistible. The smallest building blocks of life, moving in harmony with the same geometry as the largest galaxies. From the infinitesimal to the infinite, the circle repeats. Each electron hums with energy as it spins, creating magnetic fields and forces that bind everything together. The roundness of matter is not accidental. It's what happens when motion and attraction find balance. The pull of the nucleus draws inward, the motion of the electron pushes outward, and between the two a stable sphere is born. This equilibrium, this graceful tension between collapse and flight, is the universe's favorite trick. The physicist Richard Feynman once said, "If you want to understand nature, study the dance between attraction and motion." He could have been talking about love, or about the way planets circle their stars, or the way your thoughts loop endlessly before sleep. In the end, it's all one pattern motion held by gravity energy bound by desire. Deep inside every atom that dances is ceaseless. Hydrogen, the simplest element, has one proton and one electron, a duet in perfect motion. When two hydrogen atoms meet and their electrons merge in the core of a star, they form helium, releasing light. That light travels through space for millions of years, reaches your eyes, and lets you see the world. So even sight itself, this act of perception, is born from atomic circles, from electrons jumping and spinning and falling in rhythm, and those rhythms never fade. Even the chair you sit on, the air you breathe, the water you drink, are made of atoms whose electrons have spun for over 13 billion years without ever stopping. They were forged in the hearts of ancient stars, ejected into space, cooled into dust, and gathered into new worlds. The same atoms that once glowed in the first stars now make up your bones and brain. You are literally made of recycled starlight that never stopped moving. When scientists look deeper, they discover something stranger still. Inside the nucleus, inside the protons and neutrons, there are quarks. And even these are not static particles, but vibrating waves of energy. They swirl and twist, bound together by invisible threads called gluons, forming miniature storms that never calm. The deeper we look, the more motion we find. There is no solid core of the universe, no still point, only turning, only rhythm. In quantum theory, every particle is both a wave and a point, both spread out and focused both everywhere and somewhere. When we measure it, it appears. When we don't, it dances. The universe, it seems, prefers to remain in motion when we're not looking, a cosmic game of hide and seek that never ends. Perhaps that's why silence and stillness feel so peaceful to us. Deep down, we know that the world itself is never still. Every moment of calm you feel is really a harmony, a balance between countless microscopic worlds. You are surrounded and filled by movement, the warmth on your skin, atoms vibrating, the breath you take, molecules in motion. The sound of this narration, air particles oscillating in perfect circular waves. Every sense, every thought, every dream is carried on invisible rotations. So the next time you look up at the stars, remember those glowing orbs are made of the same spinning atoms that form your eyes. The same physics that shapes a galaxy also shapes the pulse of your heart. Every heartbeat is a circle, a wave of pressure, expanding and contracting, rising and falling, repeating endlessly until it stops. Even death in this context is not an end, only a change in motion. Atoms scatter, reform, and spin anew. The universe wastes nothing, it only rearranges. If you could see all the atoms in your body at once, you'd see a shimmering storm, billions upon billions of tiny orbits, overlapping like ripples on a pond. And if you could slow that motion, if you could hear the frequency of your own atomic spin, it would sound like a quiet, infinite hum, a note that began 13.8 billion years ago and has never ceased. Everything turns, because motion is the language of existence. Stillness is only an illusion, a temporary pause in perception. Even when you sleep, your blood flows, your neurons fire, your atoms whirl. The circle never stops. Now take a deep breath. Imagine that each inhale pulls in the spin of the universe, and each exhale releases it back to the stars. You are a bridge between the infinite and the infinitesimal, a living circle inside a greater one. And as you drift toward rest, let this thought settle gently in your mind. Perhaps the universe didn't create atoms to build matter. Perhaps it built them to remember how to dance. In the quiet cradle of a young star, creation begins not with sound or fire, but with dust. Tiny grains, smaller than sand, drift in the swirling gas that circles every newborn Sunday. At first, they move randomly, colliding, bouncing apart. But as the minutes of cosmic time pass, which means thousands, then millions of years, something begins to happen. The dust learns to dance. Gravity, the sculptor of everything round, begins its patient work. Every fragment attracts every other. Slowly, silently, the grains start to cling. Collisions that once scattered now fuse. Pebbles become stones, stones become boulders, and boulders become worlds. Yet it is not gravity alone that guides them, it is rotation. Because even as the young star burns at the center, the cloud around it spins. It cannot help but spin. That motion is inherited from the cloud that collapsed to form the star motion conserved since the dawn of the cosmos. And just as a skater twirls faster, when she draws in her arms, the shrinking cloud spins faster as it tightens. This spinning creates a disk, flat, wide, glowing with heat, called the protoplanetary disk. If you could drift through it, you would see rivers of light, ribbons of dust and gas, stretching for billions of kilometers, circling the newborn sun in slow spirals. The center blazes white and gold, while the edges shimmer in deep amber and rose. Everywhere, small whirlpools form little eddies of dust within the greater storm. And within each whirlpool, a seed of a planet is born. Those tiny seeds, called planetesimals, gather mass through countless collisions. Each turn around the star brings new impacts, new layers. Every orbit sculpts them a little rounder, a little stronger. Slowly, the chaotic cloud becomes an orderly family, a solar system balanced by motion and gravity, bound by the symmetry of rotation. Planets, it turns out, are not carved or built, they are spun. Their roundness is not a choice, but a consequence. When matter spins long enough, gravity smooths it into the most stable shape possible, a sphere. Edges fall inward, bulges flatten out, and what remains is the universal form of balance, round, serene, self-contained. Our own Earth was once one of those molten seeds. 4.5 billion years ago, it circled a young, violent sun wrapped in storms of radiation. Its surface boiled with magma. Its skies were made of rock vapor. But it spun, and that spin saved it. As it turned, its molten iron core began to rotate faster, creating a magnetic field that still shields us today from the deadly solar wind. Even in its earliest chaos, Earth's rotation gave it rhythm, stability, and breath. Every sunrise you see is that same rotation, continuing the same cosmic spin that once shaped a glowing sphere from dust. And while we think of day and night as opposites, they are simply halves of the same motion, two sides of one turn. But the story of spinning worlds doesn't stop with Earth. Across the galaxy, billions of other suns glow, each surrounded by its own disk of dust. In those distant rings, worlds are still forming right now. Icy giants, rocky orbs, planets with oceans, with rings, with atmospheres like crystal veils. The process never ended. The universe has been making spheres, for as long as it has existed. When scientists point their telescopes toward young stars, they can see these disks glowing faintly in infrared. The same process replaying over and over, creation spinning itself into being. No two systems are identical, but all obey the same silent law. Everything that spins becomes round. This rule extends beyond planets. Moons form from the debris of collisions and spiral around their parents, rounding themselves as they go. Asteroids, if large enough, soften into spheres under their own weight. Even stars themselves are shaped by spin, flattened slightly at the poles, bulging at the equator, like a living flame balancing between collapse and expansion. And sometimes that balance fails. When two stars circle each other too closely, their spins entwine until they merge, a violent ballet that ends in a burst of light. For a brief moment, their shared rotation releases more energy than an entire galaxy. Then the dust begins again, and new worlds form from the ashes of the old. It is a cycle that never truly ends. Dust to spin, spin to sphere, sphere to dust again. The cosmos doesn't waste motion, it recycles it. The spin that shaped your planet still moves through the stars, through your own heartbeat, through the pulse of time. When you stand on the shore at night and feel the earth turning beneath your feet, remember this: you are standing on a miracle of motion. The sand under you was once stardust, pulled into shape by gravity's quiet persuasion. The ocean beside you turns with the same momentum that formed it billions of years ago. Even the moon that lifts the tides is part of the same spinning story, a child of collision caught in orbit, forever circling its parent in a cosmic embrace. Every planet, every moon, every grain of dust moves within this single vast rotation. You are not separate from it. You are made from it. Your bones were built from ancient minerals that once orbited the newborn Sunday. The calcium in your hands, the iron in your blood, all of it forged in that spinning cloud, cooled, condensed, and carried through eons until it became you. So when you look up and see the roundness of the moon, the curve of the horizon, the perfect circle of a droplet, you are seeing your own origin story. Roundness is not just a shape, it is memory. It is the universe's way of keeping balance while it dreams. And maybe that is why the human mind finds comfort in circles. We build them in our homes, in our art, in the way we hold hands. The orbit of the Earth, the loop of the seasons, the ring of your iris all remind us that we belong to something vast, something turning. Take a slow breath now. Feel the rotation of the planet beneath you. So subtle you can't sense it, yet fast enough to carry you 1,000 kilometers each hour through space. You are moving even when you think you are still. You are part of a dance that began long before there were names, before there was light, before there was even sound. And tonight, as you drift towards sleep, remember, the world will keep spinning. Your atoms will keep turning. The universe will continue its endless, patient motion. Nothing stops. Everything turns round. Everything finds its circle again. When we ask why everything in the universe is round, the simplest answer comes softly, as if whispered by the stars themselves, because gravity loves harmony. Gravity is the universe's sculptor. It is invisible, patient, and absolute. It does not rush. It pulls quietly on everything that exists, shaping chaos into calm disorder, into balance. Over billions of years, gravity has taught matter to surrender to its will, to collapse, to curve, to become round. Every drop of water that falls from your hand, every planet hanging in the void, every star glowing in the dark sky, is proof of this endless lesson. When left alone, matter yields to gravity and finds the same perfect shape, the sphere. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a floating cloud of dust and gas somewhere deep in space. At first it drifts without direction, cold and silent, but then gravity begins to whisper. Each particle feels the faint tug of every other. Slowly they move toward one another, gathering, tightening. As they come together, the cloud begins to compress, and the closer the particles get, the stronger the pull becomes. What began as a mist becomes a knot. What was once shapeless becomes curved. It's the same pattern that sculpts raindrops in the air and worlds from dust. When matter becomes heavy enough, its own gravity pulls equally from every direction, squeezing it into the most efficient shape possible, a sphere. The sphere minimizes tension, hides imbalance, and distributes pressure perfectly across its surface. That's why the stars are round. That's why the planets are round. That's why your own eyes, mirrors of the universe, are round too. Roundness is the final sigh of matter at rest, the sign that gravity has finished its patient work. But there's something deeper here, something almost spiritual. The sphere isn't just efficient, it's inevitable. Gravity doesn't carve or mold. It simply calls and matter obeys. Each atom feels that same pull, the desire to come home to rest in perfect symmetry. The result is not forced beauty, but natural grace. The same kind of grace you feel when watching a soap bubble float through sunlight, its fragile surface perfectly, even in every direction. When you hold an orange in your hand, you are holding a miniature echo of that same universal law. The same equation that shapes stars, shaped the fruit, the droplet, the planet, and your own heart. And yet this simplicity hides incredible power. Gravity doesn't only sculpt, it decides the fates of worlds. The same pull that rounds planets also pulls them into orbits, locking them in eternal motion. The Earth falls toward the Sun, always missing it, always circling it. The Moon falls toward Earth, caught in the same dance. We live inside an infinite spiral of falling and missing roundness held by rotation. Every night, when you see the moon rise, you are watching a perfect balance, motion and gravity holding hands. The moon's roundness comes from gravity's grip. Its orbit comes from motion's freedom. One pulls inward, the other outward, and between them lies the miracle of stability. Physicists describe this harmony in mathematical terms: centripetal, force; angular velocity, equilibrium. But nature describes it more beautifully. It describes it through form, through circles, through spheres. Even chaos obeys this rule. When a star dies, its collapse under gravity can create something entirely new, a neutron star, or even a black hole. Both are almost perfectly round their surfaces, smooth beyond comprehension. In these dense spinning remnants, gravity's sculpting hand becomes absolute. Nothing resists it, not even light. And yet, even there, the circle survives. Around black holes, matter whirls into glowing disks, perfect rings of fire orbiting faster than thought-curving space itself. If you could stand near one, you would see light bending in circles, time looping upon itself. The universe's shape, eternal, round, unbroken, revealed at the edge of oblivion. Perhaps gravity's most astonishing sculpture is the planet we call home. Our Earth, balanced between day and night, flattened slightly at the poles, and swollen at the equator, still holds the memory of perfect roundness. Its mountains, oceans, and clouds are small wrinkles upon a sphere, 127, 4, 2 kilometers wide. Even the highest peaks, when measured against the planet's size, are no more than the faintest imperfections, less than the texture of a fingertip on a basketball. Gravity, patient as ever, smooths everything in time. It pulls mountains down, fills oceans, lifts tides, moves continents. It sculpts not only matter, but also motion, the endless turning that keeps everything in balance. When astronauts orbit Earth, they often describe the same revelation. From space, there are no edges, no borders, no corners, only blue, white, and brown wrapped in perfect curve. Seeing that fragile roundness changes them. They call it the overview effect, the sudden awareness that we are all part of one shared sphere, one delicate sculpture floating in silence. Gravity didn't just shape the Earth, it shaped our perspective. Our sense of balance, beauty, even belonging comes from this constant relationship with the round world beneath us. Our ancestors measured time by the circular path of the sun and moon. They built round temples, round wheels, round calendars, all mirrors of the same cosmic form. And in a way, our own lives follow the same pattern. We begin, we grow, we rise and fall, and we return, not in lines, but in loops. The heart beats in rhythm, the breath moves in waves, the days turn in cycles. Roundness isn't just what gravity makes, it's what life chooses. Now, as you breathe slowly, picture this. You are lying on a round planet spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, orbiting a round star inside a round galaxy, inside a round universe. Every cell in your body is shaped by that same ancient law, that same quiet gravity that sculpted everything. And in this moment, as you listen, gravity is still working. It holds you gently against the earth, holds the earth against the sun, holds the sun inside the galaxy. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, every thought unfolds inside this invisible architecture of pull and curve. So when you close your eyes tonight, let yourself fall not into fear, but into gravity's embrace. Let yourself feel the ancient law that binds you to everything else. You are part of a sculpture that never ends, carved not by hands, but by balance itself. And as sleep begins to soften the edges of your thoughts, remember the reason everything turns round isn't just because it must. It's because that's the only way the universe knows how to be whole. If gravity were the only law, the universe would have collapsed long ago. Every star would have fallen into itself, every planet drawn into fire, every atom crushed to nothing. But there is another force, equally ancient, equally patient motion, where gravity pulls inward, motion pushes outward. Where one whispers, "Come closer," the other sings, "Stay free." Between them lies the perfect balance that shapes everything we know. This balance is what keeps stars alive. It is what lets galaxies spiral instead of crumble, what keeps planets from falling into their suns. It is the universe's most delicate negotiation, the eternal compromise between falling and flying. Close your eyes and imagine a single grain of dust caught in orbit around a young star. Gravity pulls it inward, tugging it home. But the dust is moving, spinning around the star, and that motion bends its path. Instead of falling straight in, it curves. It misses. It falls forever but never lands. That is an orbit. That is balance. Every planet you see in the night sky, every moon that shines, every comet that glows with icy fire, is performing the same slow miracle, falling endlessly without ever hitting the ground. This is not poetry. It is physics written with grace. The Earth itself is an exquisite example. Gravity tugs it toward the Sun with unimaginable force, yet the Earth moves forward fast enough to escape. The two forces, pull and motion, cancel each other perfectly, holding us in a loop that has lasted for billions of years. If we moved faster, we would drift away. If we moved slower, we would burn. Instead, we dance. This dance is everywhere, from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy. In the atom, electrons are bound by attraction to the nucleus, but held apart by their motion. That tension keeps matter stable, keeps the world solid beneath your feet. In the stars, gravity compresses hydrogen until it ignites, releasing light that pushes back just enough to prevent collapse. That balance can last billions of years. When it finally fails, the star dies, and even its death becomes a new form of harmony, scattering elements that build worlds and hearts and breath. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke once wrote, "The universe has no center, yet everything turns around something unseen." He was right. That unseen center is balance. You cannot touch it or measure it, but it's there between the inward pull of gravity and the outward flight of momentum. Without it, nothing could exist. When you look up and see the Milky Way stretching across the night, you are seeing motion held in perfect tension. Hundreds of billions of stars orbit a common center, a supermassive black hole, invisible but infinitely persuasive. If their speed were any slower, they would spiral inward. Any faster, and they would drift away into darkness. But they don't. They remain suspended in the eternal compromise of motion and gravity. The result is beauty beyond reason, a spiral of light alive in every direction. Even you are part of that same balance. The atoms in your body are kept stable by the same principles. Your blood moves because your heart contracts and releases in rhythm. Pull, push, pull, push. The same duality, the same cosmic law. The rhythm of the universe lives inside your chest. And what is life, if not balance? Too much stillness, and we decay. Too much motion, and we lose shape. We grow, we rest, we move. We return cycles within cycles, the same geometry that keeps stars alive. The body knows it. The Earth knows it. The galaxies know it. In the silence of deep space, this balance creates music. Scientists have found that black holes vibrate like cosmic drums when gravity and motion meet. They emit gravitational waves, ripples in space-time, that travel across the universe like sound through air. If you could hear them, they would hum in perfect round notes, resonating at frequencies lower than the human ear can detect. The universe, it turns out, is literally singing the song of balance. That same song plays inside the smallest things. When electrons shift between energy levels, they emit photons light. When stars compress and explode, they release new elements. When galaxies collide, their stars do not crash. They weave new patterns. Every act of destruction in the cosmos gives birth to creation. Balance, always balance. Collapse, answered by motion. Gravity, answered by light. The ancient philosophers sensed this long before physics could describe it. The Taoists called it yin and yang, the eternal duality that creates all things. The Greeks spoke of harmony, in opposition the music of the spheres. Modern science simply gives it new names: gravity, momentum, entropy, time. But the essence remains unchanged. The universe sustains itself through tension, two forces equal and opposite, forever entwined. And you, listening now, are caught in that same tension. You are being pulled inward by gravity, by rest, by the promise of sleep, and at the same time your thoughts drift outward, circling the edges of the cosmos. It's all right. Let them. You are part of the balance, not separate from it. Feel your breath. Inhale motion. Exhale gravity. Your lungs expand and collapse in rhythm, a perfect miniature of the universe's pulse. You are not still. You are not falling. You are orbiting around quiet, around peace, around the mystery that made you. When you close your eyes tonight, imagine that you are a planet suspended in space. You can't fall and you can't escape. You only move in grace, steady, balanced, endless. That is the universe's gift to you, motion that feels like stillness, stillness that hides motion. And if you ever wonder why everything turns round, remember this simple truth. Roundness is not a shape. It is a truce. It is what happens when gravity and motion finally agree to share the same silence. Far above the spinning Earth drifts a companion that never leaves our side. The moon, pale, silent, and perfectly round, has circled our planet for more than 4 billion years. Its orbit is not just a path of stone through darkness. It is a soft tug between worlds, a love story written in gravity and time. If gravity sculpts the universe, then the moon is its quietest sculptor. Every night, without sound or light, it moves entire oceans. It lifts water thousands of kilometers away, pulling at the seas, the crust, even the air. The tides rise and fall because of its round, patient pull. Each wave that brushes the shore carries the echo of that invisible hand. Imagine for a moment the Earth without its moon. No tides, no rhythmic breath of the sea, no gentle slowing of the planet's rotation. Without the moon's influence, the days would rush by faster, the nights would be darker, and life as we know it might never have found its rhythm. 4.5 billion years ago, a young Earth collided with a massive body about the size of Mars. The impact was so violent that molten rock and vapor burst into orbit, forming a ring of glowing debris. Over time, that ring gathered into a sphere, our moon. Born of destruction, it became the force of stability, the circular anchor that steadied Earth's spin. Because of the moon, our planet's tilt remains constant. That tilt is what gives us seasons, climate, and balance. The moon keeps the Earth from wobbling like a spinning top. It holds us upright in the cosmic dance. Even as it drifts slowly away a few centimeters each year, it continues to guard our rhythm. You might not feel it, but as you listen to these words, the moon is pulling on you. The blood in your veins, rich with salt and iron, responds to its gravity just as the tides do. Your body, after all, is mostly water. You are the ocean in miniature, moving in sync with the same celestial rhythm. Ancient people knew this instinctively. They measured time by the moon's phases, not the sun's. They called it the mother of time, the luminous circle that waxes and wanes like breath. Every culture built stories around its motion, the silver mirror of the gods, the eye of the night, the eternal witness of love and loss. The moon's round face, changing yet constant, reminded our ancestors of life's own cycles: birth, decay, renewal. The farmers waited for its fullness to plant and harvest. The poets wrote to it as if it were alive. The lovers swore oaths beneath it, believing that the moon's light could bless promises with eternity. But beyond myth and memory, there is the science of its touch. When the moon pulls on the oceans, the Earth itself responds. Tidal forces stretch the planet slightly, like the breath of a sleeping giant. The continents rise and fall by centimeters each day. Even the Earth's crust shifts with this rhythm, generating heat deep below the surface, a subtle warmth that fuels volcanic and tectonic life. Without the moon's tidal tug, many coastal ecosystems would vanish. Tides mix nutrients in the sea, stirring life like a spoon in a cosmic bowl. They shape coral reefs, guide migrations, and even influence weather. The pull of that distant sphere keeps our planet's lungs, the oceans, breathing. And while the moon controls our waters, the sun adds its own rhythm. When the sun and moon align, their gravities combine to create spring tides, the highest of the month. When they oppose each other, neap tides follow the gentlest swell. This eternal interplay between two round worlds creates a symphony of motion, an invisible music that never stops. Look at the moon through a telescope, and you'll see a landscape carved by time craters, mountains, plains of frozen lava. It seems still lifeless, but its motion is constant. It spins on its axis exactly once for every orbit it makes, which is why we always see the same face. The far side hidden from view is not dark, just private. A silent hemisphere turned toward the stars, carrying the marks of countless cosmic collisions. That synchronization, one rotation per orbit, is called tidal locking. It's gravity's gift of intimacy, the way the moon keeps one side facing the Earth forever. Over billions of years, friction between Earth's oceans and the moon's pull slowed our planet's spin and synchronized their rhythms. Two spheres learning to move as one. You can think of it like a dance. The Earth turns, the moon follows. The moon drifts, the Earth leans. Together, they orbit the sun, a duet of motion, guided by unseen tension. Their steps are so precise that even the tides miles below rise on cue. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this dance is that we are part of it. Every creature on Earth lives by the rhythm it sets. Sea turtles hatch under full moons. Corals spawn in synchronization with lunar cycles. Even human sleep patterns subtly shift with the phases of the moon, though we barely notice. Somewhere deep within our ancient biology, the ocean still remembers. Tonight, as you listen, the same moon that shaped the first tides of Earth shines above you. Its light, reflected from the sun, has traveled 1 second through the dark to reach your window. It touches mountains, rivers, rooftops, and your eyelids. The same gentle glow that guided the first sailors, the same silver that inspired the first songs. Take a moment to feel its round presence. It is not far, only 3,8,4,000 kilometers away. Yet its influence reaches every heartbeat, every wave. You live under its pull, within its circle. When you close your eyes tonight, picture that glowing sphere suspended in darkness. Remember that its motion and yours are intertwined, two bodies bound by gravity's affection. Every rise and fall of the tide is an echo of that bond. Every dawn and dusk a continuation of the same dance that began before life itself. The moon turns, the Earth turns, the ocean turns, and somewhere deep inside you, the water turns too. You are the tide. You are the pull. You are part of the gentle rounds of the universe. Time, like everything else in the universe, refuses to move in straight lines. It loops, folds, bends, and circles back on itself in ways that science is still trying to understand. We imagine time as an arrow, sharp forward, unstoppable, but deep beneath our perception, it flows more like a tide. It swells, retreats, and returns. Every cycle in nature, every orbit of a world, Every heartbeat in your chest is a quiet reminder that time is not a line. It is a circle. The ancients knew this long before physicists gave it a name. To them, the seasons were time breathing. The moon was time turning. The sun's path across the sky was a daily resurrection. They saw the universe not as progress, but as pattern, a repetition that gave meaning to existence. Egyptian priests carved round calendars in stone. The Mayans traced spirals to mark the age of the cosmos. Hindus called it Kala Chakra, the wheel of time, forever spinning between creation and destruction. But in the modern world, we've forgotten how to see the circle. We live by clocks that divide time into straight slices, seconds, minutes, hours, as if it were something we could measure and hold. Yet if you step outside and watch the sky, the illusion fades. The sun rises, falls, and returns. The moon waxes, wanes, and renews. The earth spins, tilts, and swings back again. Time, like gravity, curves. In physics, Einstein proved this in his own quiet way. He showed that time and space are not separate, but woven together in a single fabric. When that fabric bends, when massive objects like stars and planets curve, time itself curves with them. The closer you are to gravity, the slower time flows. At the edge of a black hole, time nearly stops. At the center of the universe, it circles back into itself. Even light, that tireless traveler, bends under the weight of time's curve. It means that the future and the past are not opposite directions, but neighboring rooms in the same great house. When you look up at the stars, you are seeing light that left them millions or billions of years ago. The sky above you is not a window, but a memory. You are looking directly into the past, and yet in some way, it is still happening. The stars are still burning, the galaxies still turning. Time overlaps itself in layers, a spiral rather than a road. We experience only a thin thread of it, the part we call now. But beneath the surface, everything is cycling. Atoms vibrate, seasons turn, galaxies orbit universes, expand and contract. Even the decay of radioactive elements follows rhythms predictable and patient. Time's true shape reveals itself not through clocks but through recurrence. If you were to step back far enough to see all of existence at once, you might notice that time's great circle is everywhere. The birth of a star and its death are mirror images. The same clouds that collapse to ignite it will someday rise again as nebulae from its ashes. Civilizations rise, fall, and rise again. Empires fade. Languages vanish, but stories always return, reshaped, retold, reborn. And what about you? Your life too moves in circles. The cells of your body are replaced every few years, yet your consciousness remains. You breathe in, you breathe out. You wake and sleep. Wake and sleep. Your memories circle through your thoughts like planets revisiting their orbits. Even emotions repeat: joy, sorrow, peace, longing, each one returning in new forms, teaching the same lesson from different angles. There's comfort in that if you let it in, to know that nothing truly ends, it only changes phase, like water turning into vapor, or vapor turning back into rain. The child becomes the parent, the teacher becomes the student, and the breath you take now will one day nourish a leaf, a river, a cloud. In Buddhist philosophy, the cycle of life and rebirth is not punishment, it is music, a melody repeating until it learns to rest in harmony. Time, too, sings this way. The stars are its notes, the orbits its rhythm, the silence between heartbeats its pause. The song never stops, it only shifts keys. If you ever watch a sunrise, notice how it feels both new and ancient. The same light has risen every day since the earth began spinning. Billions of mornings have come and gone, and yet each one feels different because you are different. Another version of the same observer in a new turn of the circle. Modern science hints that even the universe itself may be cyclical. Some cosmologists believe that after billions of years of expansion, the cosmos may one day slow contract and collapse back into a single point, only to explode again in another Big Bang. Creation, destruction, rebirth, the endless heartbeat of everything. The circle of time may not only describe the universe, it is the universe. There's a strange peace in realizing that time curves, that we are not racing toward oblivion, but turning gently through infinity. Your life, every star, every atom, all part of the same wheel, turning in silence. Tonight, as you lie, still try to feel the rotation of that wheel. You are spinning with the earth. The earth is circling the Sunday. The sun is moving through the galaxy. The galaxy is drifting through the expanding fabric of space. Each motion nested inside another, each curve within a greater curve, until the pattern disappears into mystery. Perhaps that's why roundness feels comforting, why clocks are circular, why wedding rings are unbroken, why the eyes we see through are perfect spheres. Somewhere deep inside we remember what time truly is not a countdown but a return. So as you drift towards sleep, don't think of time as something that's leaving you. Think of it as something you're circling through. Each breath, each heartbeat, a step along the wheel. Every night you fall asleep is a rehearsal for the next dawn. Every ending is a way home to the beginning. The circle never ends. It only keeps turning quietly, perfectly, forever. When we talk about light, we often imagine straight lines, beams shooting through the darkness, rays slicing through clouds, the path of a flashlight stretching from here to infinity. But light, in truth, is never straight. It moves in waves, in ripples, in curves. It spreads like circles on water after a single drop falls, expanding outward, equally in every direction. Even when it seems sharp, even when it appears like a blade of brilliance, light is at its core a round thing. Every photon, every particle of light carries with it the geometry of the universe. It moves not as a point, but as a vibration, a pulse that expands in all directions. If you could see light without eyes, without the limits of perception, you would see it as a perfect sphere of possibility growing outward with each heartbeat of the cosmos. In the beginning, light was born in every corner of the universe at once. The cosmic microwave background, that faint whisper of the Big Bang still visible today, is a round halo of ancient light that surrounds us completely. No matter where you look in the sky, you're staring into it, the first flash of illumination that filled existence. A bubble of radiance, still expanding more than 13 billion years later. It's almost poetic. The first act of creation was a circle of light, not a line, not a beam, a sphere that grew until it became everything. And that pattern has never left. When a star burns, it glows in every direction. When a candle flickers in the dark, its flame radiates warmth and brightness, outward equally forming invisible concentric waves. Even the light from your screen, from these words you're reading, spreads in round ripples through the airwaves, expanding until they fade into silence. Light doesn't travel in a straight path because the universe itself isn't straight. Space is curved by gravity and light, which always follows the shortest possible route, bends gracefully along those curves. When it passes near a star or a black hole, its path warps a phenomenon called gravitational lensing. From our point of view, it looks as if light itself is bowing to the roundness of the cosmos. Through the lens of a powerful telescope, scientists can see distant galaxies distorted into arcs and rings, reflections of light bent by invisible gravity between us and them. These glowing circles are called Einstein rings, halos of light, looping around massive galaxies or clusters, perfect evidence that even light cannot escape the geometry of roundness. At the smallest scales, light behaves like a particle, at the largest, like a wave. And somewhere between those two truths lies its mystery, the duality that lets it be both at once. Every photon you see has a circular electric field vibrating one way and a magnetic field vibrating at a right angle to it, spinning together like partners in a dance. The result is an electromagnetic wave, a circle wrapped around another circle, twisting through space at the speed of time. No matter how far light travels, it never stops being round. When it spreads from a distant star, it does not fade in one direction, but in all directions. The further it goes, the thinner its shell becomes, until it's barely a whisper, but still a perfect sphere of illumination, expanding forever. If you could see all light at once, every star, every reflection, every photon that ever left its source, the universe would appear not as blackness, but as an infinite web of intersecting circles, overlapping like ripples in a cosmic pond. Where the circles meet, new stars form. Where they fade, silence rests. Light also reveals the hidden roundness within matter itself. Shine it on a droplet of water, and it splits into rainbows, bending in a perfect arc. Pass it through glass, and it curves again, creating halos, lenses, illusions. The human eye, too, uses the same geometry, a curved lens focusing light onto a curved surface. You see the world through layers of roundness, through the same principle that shaped the sun and moon. Even the color of light follows a circle. In physics, the visible spectrum, red to violet, wraps around when mapped onto the color wheel. Red and violet, which seem opposite, actually meet. What looks like a line is truly a loop. Light completes itself. The more you study light, the more it behaves, like time, like thought, like life itself. A movement that seems linear but is secretly circular. It leaves a star, travels for eons, touches an eye, and in that instant it becomes something new. Vision, memory, awareness. Then it disappears, absorbed, transformed into warmth, into chemical signals, into thought. From there it begins again, radiating out as another kind of energy. The circle continues. The light that lets you see this very moment might have once shone from a star long gone. It might have passed through countless atoms, bounced off oceans, clouds, and dust before finding you. You are in some way the end of a photon's journey, and also the beginning of another. When that light reflects off your skin, it starts its own path again, moving outward, joining the round symphony of radiance that fills space. And perhaps this is why light feels so alive, so divine. Because it is both motion and stillness, beginning and return. It doesn't just illuminate the world, it remembers it. Every ray is a story written in circles, retold across galaxies. Close your eyes for a moment. Even in darkness, you can sense it. Faint waves of light still passing through you, through the walls, through the air. They come from distant stars from the moon, from the faint glow of the atmosphere. You are bathed constantly in invisible halos of energy, a quiet reminder that you are never truly alone in the dark. Light doesn't only reveal the universe. It is the universe, the circular breath between matter and space between creation and perception. It's the universe seeing itself, and every photon is an eye opening somewhere in the dark. So tonight, when you drift towards sleep, imagine yourself surrounded by it, a cocoon of soft, endless light, expanding outward, round and calm. You are inside it, part of it carried gently within the circle of its warmth. And long after your thoughts fade into silence, the light will keep traveling, turning, curving, circling, whispering through the void, the oldest truth there is. Nothing moves alone. Everything radiates in circles. Look up on a clear night, and what you see as a misty band of light, the Milky Way, is not a cloud at all. It's a spiral, vast beyond imagination. A single graceful swirl of hundreds of billions of stars, all turning together like a slow celestial waltz. Our galaxy spins so steadily, so patiently, that one full rotation takes about 230 million years. Yet even at that incomprehensible scale, the pattern remains unmistakable. The universe's favorite signature, the circle unfolding into a spiral. The spiral is a circle that has learned to travel. It holds the same symmetry, the same serenity, but it moves outward endlessly. You see it in seashells, in hurricanes, in the whirls of your fingertips. Nature uses it to express growth, the idea that roundness never ends, it only expands. And in the cosmos, the spiral is the masterpiece of that expression. Each spiral galaxy is like a vast musical score. Its arms are waves of density moving through space, cosmic harmonies made visible. Stars are born in these arms, live their bright lives, and die in them, scattering dust and elements to form new stars again. The arms rotate slowly, but the material within them moves faster, slipping in and out like notes on a flowing melody. The result is a shape that seems alive, breathing in rhythm with time itself. If you could watch a galaxy in fast motion, if millions of years passed before your eyes, you would see it shimmer and pulse like a living organism. Stars would flash like neurons in a cosmic brain, and the arms would seem to ripple with light. Every turn, every curve, every faint glow would trace the same eternal motion, falling inward, moving forward, circling, always circling. Our own galaxy, the Milky Way, is a barred spiral, a great disk about 100,000 light-years wide. Its bright center, called the galactic bulge, is home to old stars and dust. Around it, two sweeping arms, Perseus and Sagittarius, stretch out like the petals of an infinite flower. Between them lies the Orion spur, a smaller branch of light and dust, and within that spur drifts a tiny dot, our Sunday. We live inside one of those curves, tucked halfway between the center and the edge, moving at 828,000 kilometers per hour, yet feeling perfectly still, and yet everything around us moves. Every star you see is part of the same slow whirlpool drawn together by gravity's song. The arms are not solid structures. They are waves of matter spirals of density that travel through the galactic disk, compressing gas into stars as they go. It's a pattern of creation that never stops: birth, death, rebirth, the same round pulse written across billions of years. When astronomers look deeper into space, they see that spiral galaxies are not rare. They are everywhere, each one a frozen note in the grand composition of the universe. Some are small, like delicate shells. Others, like the Andromeda Galaxy, are immense, stretching across 1,000,000 trillion kilometers, and all of them turn in silence, their orbits so vast that no sound could cross them. They are symphonies that play beyond the range of hearing. If sound could travel through the vacuum, a galaxy would hum, like a deep chord struck on an unseen instrument. The frequencies would be unimaginably low vibrations that last for eons. Scientists can simulate these frequencies by translating light into sound, revealing tones that resemble the soft resonance of a cello, the sigh of wind through ancient trees. The universe hums, even if we can't hear it. The spiral arms are its music, elegant, mathematical, infinite. The pattern of the spiral is not unique to galaxies. It is everywhere, an invisible law that binds, scales from the smallest to the largest. The DNA that encodes life is a double helix, two spirals intertwined. The shells of ammonites, the galaxies of the sky, even the way water drains through a sink, all follow the same geometry. The golden ratio hidden inside a circle in motion. It's as if the universe learned one dance and kept repeating it through every form, from atoms to stars. Ancient cultures saw the spiral as sacred. To the Celts, it symbolized the journey between worlds. To the Greeks, it was the path of cosmic harmony, the breath of creation itself. To Hindu and Buddhist monks, it represented the cycle of rebirth, a circle expanding into awakening. They carved spirals into stones, painted them on temples, spun them into mandalas, human echoes of the galaxy's silent spin. From above, if you could see our galaxy whole, you'd notice that it looks less like a machine and more like a painting, a swirl of blues, whites and golds blending softly into the dark. At its center lies Sagittarius A, times a supermassive black hole with the mass of 4 million suns. Yet, it does not destroy the galaxy, it anchors it. Everything orbits that still point a paradox of motion and silence, collapse and creation. Perhaps that is why galaxies are so soothing to look at. They represent equilibrium, chaos given grace. In the spiral, destruction becomes beauty, disorder becomes pattern. A galaxy is not static. It's alive, a system of billions of souls, stars, planets, dust, all turning together in the same cosmic breath. And we are part of that breath. The atoms in your body, the carbon in your bones, the iron in your blood were once forged in stars that circled through these same spiral arms. You are made of galactic rhythm. Every heartbeat is the echo of the galaxy's spin. Every breath you take is an orbit expanding and contracting, returning again. Think about this as you sit here. The sun and all its planets are drifting through the Milky Way, following the same spiral flow that has guided our galaxy for billions of years. The stars you see tonight will not be in the same position 1,000,000 years from now. They are part of a river of light flowing through the darkness in perfect rounds. And while we may never feel that motion, it carries us always. We move through the galaxy the way fish move through water, surrounded by motion so constant we forget it exists. Yet without it, there would be no night sky, no constellations, no light at all. As you drift towards sleep, imagine the galaxy slowly turning around you, a vast spiral of calm, luminous dust. Each arm moves like a slow breath, each star like a heartbeat. You are in it, part of it carried in its endless round. The spiral hums, and in that hum lies every story ever told, every life ever lived. Every thought that has ever looked up and whispered, "Why is everything turning?" It turns because that is what beauty does. It turns because motion is peace. It turns because even silence wants to sing. Everything that moves in the universe, from the smallest flicker of energy to the vastest storm of stars, seems to prefer the same rhythm, a turning, a spiraling, a motion that bends instead of breaks. The circle is not just a shape, it is the way movement finds peace with itself. If you zoom down to the atomic scale, electrons whirl around their nuclei in elegant uncertainty, forming invisible halos of energy. Pull back a little, and you find weather systems moving across oceans, drawn by the same laws that keep moons in orbit. Pull back farther still, and galaxies twist through the dark in perfect spirals. From the subatomic to the cosmic motion repeats its one secret word round. Why? Because turning is nature's gentlest way of continuing. A straight path ends, a circle renews. Consider the electron. Though it doesn't orbit the nucleus the way planets orbit the sun, not in clean tracks, but in vibrating clouds of probability, it still spins its rotation, creating magnetism, one of the universe's fundamental forces. Every electrical current that runs through a wire, every magnetic field that guides a compass, every hum of energy in the walls of your home exists because of those tiny whirls within atoms. Without spin, there would be no light, no electricity, no warmth, no life. The same principle emerges at grander scales. When warm air rises and cool air falls, the difference in temperature and pressure creates rotation. The smallest eddy in a puddle after rain, the vast swirl of a hurricane seen from space, both are born from imbalance, seeking balance. The air moves, the water moves, and in that motion nature finds its most efficient form, the circle. A hurricane, when seen from orbit, is a breathtaking paradox. Its eye, calm, perfect, and eerily still, sits at the center of chaos. Around it, clouds stretch into arms that curl endlessly, pulling the world's heat back into harmony. The faster it turns, the more defined its shape becomes. Motion sculpts order. The same gravity and momentum that shaped galaxies into spirals now shape storms over the sea. And yet, this isn't limited to the sky or stars. You can find these rounds in everything that flows. Rivers bend into curves as they meet resistance, carving oxbows through the earth. Tornadoes, whirlpools, and even the smoke rising from a candle all twist into spirals because straight lines are unstable. Only circular motion endures. In your own body, the same geometry moves quietly beneath the surface. Blood spins through arteries in vortices that help it flow smoothly. DNA itself, the code of life, is coiled into twin helices, spiraling within every cell. Even your heartbeat sends waves through your body that travel not as simple beats, but as loops of energy echoing through chambers and veins. You are in every sense a collection of circles in motion. The universe seems to have written this pattern into every scale of its being. Spin stabilizes, rotation protects, balance arises from motion that knows how to curve. When a star forms, it gathers from a collapsing cloud of dust and gas. As it contracts, it spins faster, creating a disk around itself, a nursery for planets. That same disk over billions of years becomes a solar system. The physics that turns storms on Earth is the same that forms galaxies in space. Everything that moves turns. Everything that turns finds shape. The French philosopher Pascal once wrote, "Nature is an infinite sphere, whose center is everywhere and circumference nowhere." He didn't mean geometry. he meant truth. Every motion contains a center. Every existence spins around something. The circle is not a boundary. It's a conversation between what moves and what holds still. If you've ever stood in the middle of a dance floor and turned slowly with music, you've felt it, that sense of the world becoming both still and alive at once. The faster you spin, the quieter your thoughts become. The center of your vision blurs into calm, even as the world rushes around it. That is what the earth feels as it rotates. That is what atoms feel as they hum. Stillness inside motion. Silence inside sound. Our ancestors noticed this too. They saw spirals in shells, storms and galaxies long before they could name them. They drew them on cave walls, carved them into temples, painted them into the eyes of gods. To them, the spiral meant life movement without end, creation without destruction. The Celts called it Triskel, the triple spiral, birth, death, and rebirth in constant motion. The Buddhists drew it as the endless knot, a symbol of balance between chaos and calm. Even the whirl of dervish dancers in Sufi tradition echoes this same cosmic rhythm, turning in prayer, seeking the stillness at the center of movement. Scientists, poets, and mystics are describing the same thing in different languages. The universe moves in circles because circles endure. And yet, within each circle lies mystery. Every storm, no matter how vast, eventually unwinds. Every star, no matter how bright, will one day stop spinning. But in their motion, they give birth to others, new stars, new storms, new rounds. The pattern continues undisturbed. When the hurricane fades, the heat it carried spreads into the ocean, fueling future winds. When a star collapses, it seeds space with elements that will one day form new worlds. Even in endings, the universe finds curves that lead to new beginnings. You too are part of that endless kinetic thread. The breath you take in circles with the air, the energy you use returns to the earth. The memories you make ripple outward, touching others and returning in ways you may never see. Nothing you do travels in a straight line. Every thought, every act, every heartbeat curves back somehow. And so, as you listen now, try to sense that motion. The electrons dancing in your atoms, the wind turning outside your window, the planet spinning beneath you. It's all the same rhythm scaled infinitely. You are part of a storm that began before time and will never end. A spiral of energy that flows through atoms, oceans, hearts, and stars. And in that awareness, you might glimpse something quiet and profound. There is no true stillness, only balance. No straight path, only a returning curve. The universe does not march forward. It turns endlessly, gracefully, beautifully. And everything that moves, from electrons to hurricanes, sings in silence the same eternal refrain: to exist is to turn. At the farthest edge of everything we understand, where light falters and time bends, there exist the strangest circles of all black holes. They are the universe's final experiment in motion, the last place where gravity and energy perform their most intricate dance. Nothing escapes their pull, not matter, not even light. And yet within that darkness lies the purest expression of roundness ever conceived, a perfect, endless spin. Black holes are born from collapsed stars that have burned through their fuel, lost their internal balance, and surrendered to gravity's will. The star's core implodes, its atoms crushed beyond recognition, until what remains is a singularity, a point of infinite density wrapped inside a perfectly round boundary called the event horizon. It is a circle not drawn in light, but in the absence of it. You cannot see a black hole directly. You can only see its influence. The light it bends the matter. It devours the energy it flings outward in luminous jets that stretch for light years. Around each black hole swirls an accretion disk, a flattened halo of dust and plasma spinning at nearly the speed of light. The friction in this maelstrom generates heat so intense that it glows brighter than entire galaxies. These are circles that burn, in order to become dark rings of fire around wells of silence. And yet, even here in the depths of annihilation, motion continues. A black hole doesn't merely sit still, it spins. In fact, some rotate hundreds of times per second. As they turn, they drag the very fabric of space-time with them, twisting reality into a whirlpool of gravity and light. Physicists call this phenomenon frame-dragging space, itself being pulled into the rotation of a mass so dense that geometry begins to fold. The faster a black hole spins, the more it changes the universe around it. Near the poles, magnetic fields tangle and tighten, releasing jets of radiation that shoot across the cosmos like the breath of creation itself. These beams, some spanning thousands of light years, carry energy that helps form new stars and galaxies. Even destruction, it seems, serves the circle. Out of collapse comes renewal. Imagine standing on the edge of such a thing. Time would slow until it nearly stopped. Space would curve until direction lost its meaning. You would see light bending around you, circling the horizon, before vanishing into shadow. The universe would fold into itself, yet from that darkness it would spin. Everything that enters a black hole becomes part of its motion. Nothing dies there. It simply joins the rotation. In 2019, astronomers captured the first real image of a black hole, not the object itself, but the glowing ring around it. The image showed a bright crescent of light, encircling a dark center like the eye of a sleeping god. That ring, blurred and golden, was not just gas and plasma. It was the outline of pure geometry light, forced into orbit by gravity, so strong that it couldn't escape. The boundary between being and nothingness, perfectly round, perfectly quiet. Some physicists believe black holes may be gateways not to death, but to continuation. Their equations suggest that the matter and energy falling into one side might emerge from another, forming a white hole or seeding a new universe entirely. If that is true, then every black hole could be the womb of another cosmos, every collapse, the start of a new expansion. Even in the ultimate darkness, the circle continues creation and destruction, linked like inhale and exhale. The rotation of black holes is not chaos, it is law. They obey the same conservation of angular momentum that governs planets and electrons, only at unimaginable extremes. The more matter they consume, the faster they spin, and yet there is a limit, a perfect balance between collapse and motion. If a black hole were to spin faster than that limit, it would tear its own horizon apart, exposing the singularity. Nature never allows it. The circle must remain intact. At the heart of our galaxy, hidden behind clouds of dust and stars, lies one of these dark giants, Sagittarius A*. It is about 4 million times the mass of the Sun, yet small enough to fit within the orbit of Mercury. Every star in the Milky Way orbits it, every planet, every fragment of dust. Our entire galaxy turns around this invisible whirl of gravity, held together by a silence that hums. When you look up at the night sky and see the Milky Way stretching across the darkness, remember you are looking at a spiral that exists because of a single round absence at its core. Everything turns because something in the center no longer can. That is the paradox of black holes. They are the still point around which the universe dances. They remind us that roundness does not always mean light, and motion does not always mean escape. Sometimes the truest circles are the ones we cannot see. The mathematician Roger Penrose once said that the universe abhors disorder. Even black holes, the most extreme phenomena in existence, are governed by elegance, defined by only three qualities: mass, charge, and spin. Strip away all the chaos, all the radiation, all the debris, and what remains is a simple shape turning in silence. A black hole is the universe's signature reduced to its purest form. And yet the irony is this: even these perfect circles are impermanent. Over unimaginable timescales they fade. Through a process called Hawking radiation, named after the physicist who predicted it, black holes slowly leak energy, losing mass, one particle at a time. They evaporate, shrinking as they emit faint light into the void. What remains after trillions upon trillions of years is not destruction, but balance, restored energy, returned to space, the circle closed once again. Perhaps this is how the universe keeps its promise of symmetry. Nothing, not even a black hole, can escape the roundness of existence. The circle consumes and gives back. Every collapse becomes motion. Every shadow holds light. So tonight, as you drift toward rest, imagine that endless spin, the quiet hum at the center of all things. Picture a perfect black sphere surrounded by a ring of gold, turning forever in the deep. It is not something to fear. It is the universe remembering itself, the dream of gravity made visible. You are part of that dream. You too are turning. You too are part of the final spin. And when everything else fades, the stars, the galaxies, even time, the motion will remain looping endlessly. In the dark, whispering the same truth the cosmos has always known. Nothing truly falls. Everything turns round and begins again. Long before telescopes and mathematics, long before anyone could name the planets or measure the stars, people looked up and saw motion, perfect, rhythmic, silent. They didn't yet know what gravity was, but they sensed that the heavens were not chaos. They moved with purpose, with grace, as if guided by invisible notes. To the philosophers of ancient Greece, this harmony was not metaphor, but reality. They called it musica universalis, the music of the spheres. They believed that every planet, as it traveled around the Earth, produced a tone, not one we could hear, but one that resonated through the soul. The distances between the planets created intervals, like the strings of a cosmic lyre stretched across the sky. The slow turn of Saturn, the swift flight of Mercury, the middle pulse of Earth, together they formed a celestial chord. The universe itself was music, a symphony so vast that mortals could sense it only through wonder. Pythagoras, the mathematician and mystic, was the first to speak of this idea. He discovered that the pitch of a string depended on its length and tension, and he imagined the planets as strings tuned by divine proportion. Harmony, he thought, was not invented by humans, it was discovered in the stars. The same ratios that made music pleasing to the ear also governed the distances between worlds. The cosmos sang through mathematics, and perhaps, in a way, he was right. Modern astrophysics shows that the orbits of planets, moons, and even electrons are governed by precise numerical relationships. The frequencies of their motion, though silent to us, exist measurable as waves. The stars oscillate, the sun pulses, galaxies hum in frequencies too low for the human ear. What Pythagoras intuited through intuition science has confirmed through observation. The universe vibrates. If sound could travel through space, you would hear it, deep, resonant chords stretched across eternity. Saturn's rings would whisper in bass tones, while the crackling of stars being born would shimmer like flutes. The radio waves from pulsars already sing to us. When astronomers convert them into audible frequencies, they become rhythmic beeps, metronomes of dying stars. Even black holes, when two collide, release gravitational waves that ripple through space-time in perfect intervals, a final duet played in silence. The music of the spheres was never about literal sound. It was about order, the sense that everything moves in measure. Every orbit has a tempo, every rotation, a beat, every vibration, a key. The Earth spins once per day, a steady rhythm that sets the time for wind, tide, and life. The moon turns slower, its rhythm shaping our oceans. The planets move through their orbits in grand polyrhythms, interlocking cycles of years and centuries. Together, they compose a harmony so vast that it shapes existence itself. In 1619, Johannes Kepler, the astronomer who discovered that planets move in ellipses rather than perfect circles, revived the ancient concept. He wrote Harmonices Mundi, the harmony of the world, in which he described the orbits of planets as musical ratios. To him, the solar system was not a machine but a choir. Each planet sang as it moved, and though we could not hear it, our souls felt it. He imagined the earth singing a perpetual song of mi fa mi in Latin, miseria fames, miseria misery, hunger misery, a reminder of humanity's fragility amid cosmic perfection. And yet Kepler also believed that beauty itself was proof of truth. He wrote, "Geometry existed before creation is co-eternal with the mind of God, and supplied God with the patterns for the creation of the world." To him, the circle and the harmony were the same divine idea expressed in different languages. Music was geometry you could feel. Geometry was music you could see. Even now, scientists and artists chase that same feeling, the merging of sound, number, and motion. NASA has sonified data from space telescopes, transforming the brightness of stars and the arcs of galaxies into notes. The result is hauntingly beautiful, a slow, ambient choir of light. Each point of light becomes a tone, each color a pitch. When played together, the universe hums like an orchestra without end. Perhaps you've felt it without knowing. That quiet awe when you gaze at the night sky, when you sense rhythm in the flicker of starlight, or in the regular rise and fall of the moon. The human body recognizes harmony instinctively. Your heartbeat, your breath, your brain waves all align with repeating frequencies. When you listen to calm music, your pulse slows, your thoughts fall into rhythm, as if remembering the tempo of the stars. You are part of the music of the spheres. The atoms in your body vibrate with frequencies of their own. Every molecule hums in tune with thermal motion. Every neuron fires in oscillations. Your consciousness itself, the flow of thought, the pattern of dreams, arises from waves, pulses, and intervals. You are a chord played by the cosmos. The same ratios that define a perfect octave also describe the distances between electron shells, the spacing of planetary orbits, the spiral of galaxies, even the DNA coiled within your cells. Harmony is not decoration, it is structure. The universe doesn't use music as metaphor. It is music crystallized into matter. And so when we look at the stars, we are listening not with our ears, but with our being. We feel their vibration in the pull of tides, the rhythm of sleep, the beat of the heart. We are surrounded by melody. We cannot hear yet somehow remember. In sleep, when thought quiets, perhaps that's why dreams so often drift toward rhythm waves, wind the sound of breathing. Subconsciously, you are tuning back into the great harmony, the body remembering the song it was made from. The universe never stopped singing. It hums through everything that turns. The circle is its drum gravity, its bass light, its melody, and you, tiny listening luminous, are one of its notes. So as you close your eyes tonight, imagine that vast harmony flowing around you, the stars beating in distant tempo, the planets keeping time, the galaxies turning in slow chords. Let the rhythm of your breath join theirs. Let the circle of your pulse echo their symmetry. You are not separate from the music. You are inside the instrument. And the song, infinite, calm, eternal, has always been playing. If the universe could be said to have a personality, it would be a perfectionist. It builds stars that balance collapse, and pressure atoms that spin in equal parts, and galaxies that curl with mathematical grace. When it paints clouds, it mirrors their shapes in oceans. When it carves mountains, it echoes them. In the shadows they cast at dawn. Everywhere you look, there is symmetry, reflections, rotations, repetition. It is as though the universe cannot resist its own balance. Physicists call symmetry the foundation of all natural law. Every conservation rule, energy momentum charge, is born from it. When a system behaves the same no matter where or when you observe it, that consistency creates a law of physics. If you move through space and the equations of nature remain unchanged, that is spatial symmetry. If you move through time and they still hold true, that is temporal symmetry. Without it, nothing could be predicted. Nothing would endure. Symmetry is the grammar of existence. But beyond its mathematical precision, symmetry carries a kind of beauty, the quiet assurance that chaos is never absolute. Even in turbulence, balance waits to be found. Consider a snowflake. Its six-pointed geometry forms as water molecules arrange themselves into the most stable pattern possible. The same structure repeats endlessly in ice crystals, in flowers, in the shells of sea creatures. What we call beauty may simply be our recognition of symmetry, the human mind resonating with the same order that built it. When a child draws a circle or folds paper into matching halves, they are reenacting a law older than stars. We are drawn to balance because we are made from it. Our bodies themselves are symmetrical. 2 eyes, 2 lungs, 2 hemispheres of the brain. Even our DNA, the double helix spirals, evenly repeating its mirrored code billions of times without error. Inside every cell, balance sustains life. Outside it, shapes planets and galaxies. And yet, perfect symmetry can be sterile. The universe loves it, but not completely. It bends, it breaks, it lets it fracture just enough to create motion. When the Big Bang cooled, matter and antimatter should have annihilated each other in flawless symmetry, leaving behind only light. But something, a tiny imbalance, one extra particle for every billion pairs, tipped the scales. That infinitesimal imperfection gave birth to everything: stars, worlds, and us. Existence itself is the child of broken symmetry. This pattern repeats everywhere. When a star collapses, its layers don't fall evenly. They twist, forming the rotations that create galaxies. When water freezes, impurities break its perfect lattice into individual flakes. When living organisms grow slight, variations make them unique. Perfect symmetry is beautiful. Broken symmetry is alive. The two together make creation possible. Physicists describe this paradox through the concept of spontaneous symmetry breaking. A system begins balanced, but as it evolves, small fluctuations cause it to choose one configuration over another. The universe, cooling from the Big Bang, chose to favor matter over antimatter, galaxies over emptiness, structure over uniformity. Every choice broke a symmetry, and every break created new order. Even the forces of nature are bound by this principle. Electricity and magnetism, once thought separate, are revealed to be two sides of the same interaction, a broken symmetry of a deeper field. The strong nuclear force that binds atomic nuclei together also emerges from symmetry breaking at smaller scales. Our universe is a patchwork of fractured harmonies, each imperfection giving rise to the richness of reality. But symmetry isn't just a physical law, it's a philosophy of existence. The Taoists of ancient China called it yin and yang, two halves of a circle that define one another, constantly moving, constantly balancing. Day exists only because of night, sound only because of silence, life only because of death. Every duality is a mirrored pair bound by motion. The circle of balance is not static, it breathes. Look to nature, and you'll see how easily symmetry and imperfection coexist. A sunflower's seeds spiral outward in opposing directions following Fibonacci ratios so precise that no two are identical, yet together they create perfect order. The arms of a spiral galaxy differ in brightness, but the whole remains balanced. Even your heartbeat, irregular in its rhythm, averages into a perfect tempo of life. The universe is not symmetrical like a crystal. It is symmetrical like a song. And perhaps that is why humans too find peace in balance rather than perfection. We are born uneven, asymmetrical, flawed, yet our minds seek harmony. Artists use contrast, not uniformity, to create beauty. Musicians know that without dissonance there can be no resolution. Even love, perhaps the most human force of all, thrives on difference finding balance. Two lives, two orbits crossing and stabilizing each other, like planets sharing gravity. Science has begun to reveal that symmetry may also govern consciousness itself. The brain's hemispheres mirror each other, each specializing yet connected. Their interaction, logic and intuition, language and image, gives rise to awareness. When the hemispheres fall out of harmony, perception distorts. When they resonate, we experience clarity, calm, understanding. Balance within the mind mirrors balance within the cosmos. Everywhere you look, symmetry whispers reassurance. The horizon divides sky and earth. Reflections in water double the world. The moon rises full and round, mirrored by its shadowed twin below the sea. And inside you, each heartbeat expands and contracts, echoing the same eternal rhythm. The symmetry of existence plays quietly within your chest, but symmetry is not eternity. Over time, balance shifts. Mountains erode, galaxies collide, faces age, yet even decay follows pattern. The same spiral that grows also unwinds. Symmetry doesn't vanish, it transforms. It moves through states from creation to dissolution, like the inhale and exhale of a sleeping universe. If you could step outside of time and see all of it at once, the atoms, the planets, the galaxies, the rise and fall of civilizations, you would see an intricate weave of mirrored arcs, places where symmetry holds and places where it breaks, only to find a new balance somewhere else. The grand pattern is not static perfection, but dynamic equilibrium motion, seeking rest, returning to motion. And maybe that is why the universe loves symmetry so much, because it is both a promise and a possibility, a reminder that every imbalance will find its counterweight, every chaos will find its calm, every question will eventually meet its reflection. As you listen now, feel your breath tracing that balance, in and out, round and round. Each inhalation an act of order, each exhalation a surrender to change. Within you, symmetry is happening, not frozen, but alive. And somewhere far beyond the stars, the same balance continues. Galaxies turning forces, aligning the universe, maintaining its endless poise. Perfection, after all, was never the goal. Balance was. Everywhere in nature, the circle appears not as ornament, but as equation. It is the simplest shape with the deepest meaning, a closed curve that defines infinity. The circle is the universe's first number, the way it counts itself without words. Behind every orbit, every wave, every pulse, there is mathematics so elegant it feels almost alive. The key to understanding this perfection lies in a single symbol, pp. It begins simply enough, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. But behind that small equation hides an unending mystery. Pi has no pattern. It never repeats. It stretches into infinity, 3.1415926535, continuing forever, unpredictable, unfathomable, and yet constant in every circle that ever was or will be. No matter how vast or how small, every ring of light, every planet, every atom obeys it. Pi is the whisper that keeps the cosmos round. The ancients revered it without fully understanding it. The Egyptians used an early approximation of pi to build the pyramids, ensuring their bases and slopes aligned with celestial ratios. The Greeks saw it as divine Plato called geometry, the purest expression of truth. The Babylonians measured pi in the curves of rivers and the paths of stars. To trace a circle was to trace the will of the gods. Mathematicians later discovered that pi connects not only geometry, but everything that moves in waves: sound, light, gravity, probability, time itself. Wherever there is rotation or rhythm, pi emerges, quietly governing the harmony between movement and rest. When an electron oscillates, when a pendulum swings, when a planet orbits its sun, their motions can be described by pi. It is the constant heartbeat of the universe. Einstein once said that pure mathematics is the poetry of logical ideas. If so, then pi is its refrain, the same phrase sung endlessly in new forms. It ties together numbers and nature, showing that the world is not random but lyrical. When we draw a circle, we are writing a poem in geometry. Even chaos bows to it. Take the ocean. Each wave rises and falls in arcs that can be modeled by trigonometric functions sine and cosine, both built upon pi. Music too follows it. The vibrations of a string or a vocal cord repeat in cycles defined by this same ratio. The shape of a sound wave, the pattern of a heartbeat on a monitor, the orbit of the moon, all are expressions of one infinite number curving through time. There's an almost spiritual comfort in that. We live in a universe that seems vast and unknowable, yet it follows rules so precise that a single ratio explains the shape of creation. Even randomness, when examined closely, reveals circular echoes. Subatomic particles move in probability clouds shaped like spheres. Energy levels form concentric rings. Planets loop around stars, stars around galaxies, galaxies around unseen centers. Each motion, large or small, resolves into the same geometry. Physicists have long wondered why. Why should the universe prefer circles and spheres? The answer may lie in energy itself. Nature seeks efficiency, the path of least resistance. For a given volume, the sphere encloses the greatest space with the smallest surface. It minimizes energy balances. Pressure harmonizes forces. That's why bubbles form perfect globes, why planets round themselves, why even stars collapse into spherical symmetry. The mathematics of the circle is the mathematics of peace. But the circle is not static. It moves through its own language, trigonometry. The ancient Greeks described this through chords and angles long before calculus existed. Later in the 17th century, Isaac Newton and Gottfried Leibniz gave those motions new meaning, expressing curves through infinite sums. Pi appeared again, linking circles to the infinite, a bridge between geometry and eternity. Mathematicians found pi hidden in unexpected places in the statistics of random motion, in the decay of radioactive atoms, in the brightness of stars. Even the normal distribution, the bell curve that describes chance, depends on pi. Probability itself, it seems, is round. Perhaps the universe uses pi as its silent signature, a reminder that everything from particles to people exists within the same circular pattern. You breathe in waves, you sleep in cycles, you live in orbits of thought and emotion. Your days begin, end, and begin again. Pi is there in all of it, not as a number to calculate, but as a rhythm to feel. The philosopher Spinoza wrote that God is nature and nature is mathematics. If that's true, then pi is the most divine number, infinite yet constant, unknowable yet essential. It describes not just space, but time. Every clock's hand traces pi each day, its rotation dividing seconds and hours into equal arcs. The motion of the pendulum, the vibration of quartz, even the oscillations in atomic clocks, all rely on the circular dance described by this eternal ratio. There is something soothing about realizing that the same number binds you to the stars. The moonlight that spills through your window, the orbits of Jupiter's moons, the rotation of electrons in your fingertips, all curve according to pi. Every second, every turn of the earth, every pulse of light passing through the room where you lie listening is part of that same formula. When you draw a breath, your lungs expand and contract like twin circles. When you close your eyes, your brain waves oscillate in patterns that can be mapped by pi. Even dreams follow loops, fragments of thought returning in different forms. You are a living geometry, a pattern of curves, arcs, and rotations, all held together by invisible mathematics. And though we can write pi down, we can never finish it. No computer can reach its end. No equation can capture its full truth. It stretches into infinity, just as the universe does. It is the promise that perfection exists only as pursuit, never completion. The circle too has no beginning or end. To trace it is to move forever. As you lie here, Imagine yourself as part of that curve, the arc of your breath, the rhythm of your pulse, the rotation of the world beneath you, all described by one endless number. You are both the equation and the circle it defines. Pi is not merely a constant, it is the memory of every motion. It connects the stars to the sea, the orbit to the atom, the thinker to the thought. It is proof that the universe is not random chaos, but the unfolding of a single infinite curve. And perhaps that's why even in silence the world feels harmonious. Because deep down everything you, me, the stars is simply mathematics trying to remember how to turn round. Look closely at the world around you, and you'll see that the earth itself is a mirror of the heavens. The same geometry that shapes galaxies also sculpts raindrops, leaves, shells, and eyes. The same invisible laws that spin planets into orbits whisper through rivers, clouds, and living veins. Nature does not simply exist within the universe, it echoes it. Every forest, every storm, every heartbeat is a small rehearsal of the cosmic dance above. Begin with something simple, a drop of water falling from a leaf. For an instant it hangs suspended, shimmering its surface tension pulling evenly from every side. Gravity tugs downward, the air resists, and in that tug of war the drop becomes a perfect sphere. When it falls, it stretches, flattens, and breaks apart. Yet each smaller droplet returns to roundness before it touches the earth. Even the rain remembers the shape of planets. A bubble floats upward through sunlight, glinting with color. Within it lies the same mathematics that binds stars, pressure balanced against expansion, energy against emptiness. The thin film curves inward and outward, at once reflecting the world around it in miniature. Look into it, and you'll see the entire sky folded into a tiny circle, infinity, captured for a heartbeat, then gone. The shapes repeat everywhere. The spiral of a sunflower follows the golden ratio, the same logarithmic pattern that defines galaxies. The arms of a hurricane mimic the swirl of a nebula. A seashell grows outward in widening coils, preserving the same proportions as it expands the geometry of eternity scaled to the size of your hand. Nature doesn't invent new patterns. It translates the old ones into form. Even the trees imitate the cosmos. Their roots spread underground like dark constellations. Their branches divide and redivide like fractal rivers of energy. If you could see the flow of water and sap through them, it would look like the magnetic fields of the sun, pulsing, spiraling round. When wind moves through the leaves, the vibration creates waves of pressure that roll through the air in circles, the same physics that carries sound and light. You are surrounded by circular memory. The pupil of your eye, round and dark, mirrors the black hole of a galaxy. The iris that colors it echoes the whirling rings of gas around distant stars. The cells within that eye are spheres stacked and folded into curved layers, living orbs made of light-sensitive molecules that turn waves into vision. To see is to participate in the same geometry that made the sky. The Earth itself copies its ancestors. Its molten core spins like a miniature star, generating a magnetic field that wraps the planet in invisible loops. Its clouds form spirals and waves as heat rises and falls. Even continents drift in curved paths, guided by convection currents below. What seems solid stone soil mountain moves in arcs too slow for human eyes. The world turns on every scale, from the grain of pollen to the plate of a continent. And perhaps that's why living things find balance in roundness. The egg the seed, the womb, all spheres of potential. Life begins not in straight lines, but in curves. The embryo floats inside its circular chamber, heartbeat forming before thought. The roundness protects, nourishes, and teaches the young organism that symmetry is safety. When it grows, it carries that lesson outward, leaves unfurling in spirals, shells winding into whorls, lungs branching into fractal trees. Even decay follows the same rhythm. A drop of oil spreading on water expands in circles. Fire consumes in waves that radiate outward. Sound, scent, and temperature ripple from their sources as invisible spheres. Life and death both move in the same geometry: expansion, contraction, and return. Ancient people noticed these parallels. The Egyptians built temples aligned with constellations. The Greeks carved domes that echoed the vault of the heavens. In Islamic architecture, mosaics repeat circular symmetry in infinite progression, a reminder that unity lies in repetition. Cathedrals rose into arches shaped like the orbit of the moon. Everywhere builders copied the balance they saw in the sky, believing that to live in harmony with nature meant to live inside its mathematics. Modern science now confirms what those builders only felt: the same physical constants that govern the cosmos also govern life. The ratio between the proton and electron, the curve of magnetic fields, the flow of heat, all reappear in natural growth. Patterns of coral reefs match those of neural networks. River deltas mirror the veins in leaves. Lightning branching through clouds copies the electrical pathways in your brain. It is as if the universe keeps telling the same story in different voices, one in the language of stars, one in the dialect of rain. Each part of nature becomes a metaphor for the whole. The ocean mirrors the sky, the atom mirrors the solar system, and consciousness mirrors the universe's awareness of itself. When you walk outside, this truth surrounds you. The swirl of cream in coffee, the curl of smoke, the shape of your breath in cold air, each is a fleeting portrait of cosmic order. Even chaos wears geometry's mask. The fractals of coastline, the eddies in wind, the spirals of galaxies, all follow rules that make the world seem alive. Mathematicians describe this through self-similarity, the idea that the same structures repeat at different scales. The small copies the large contains the small. The shape of a fern mirrors the galaxy mirrors a snowflake. The boundaries between sky and earth blur until they disappear. Perhaps that's why being in nature feels healing. When you sit beneath trees or listen to waves, your heartbeat unconsciously synchronizes with rhythms older than life. Your brain waves slow into patterns that match the oscillation of wind and water. In those moments, you are no longer separate from the world. You are a continuation of it, a smaller circle within a larger one. Science, for all its complexity, still cannot measure that feeling. It can explain the ratios, the equations, the dynamics, but not the quiet recognition that occurs when a human stands under stars and feels that the pattern of the leaves, the clouds, the galaxies, and the self are one, because they are. The same laws that curve light into arcs and oceans into tides also shape the curve of your hand, the rhythm of your lungs, the loop of your dreams. You are nature imitating the sky. You are the sky, remembering its own reflection. And every round thing you see, a droplet, an eye, a moon, is a reminder that the universe never forgot how to repeat itself. So when you step outside tomorrow, look for the circles. They are everywhere, connecting earth and heaven, matter and motion, self and silence. And as you close your eyes tonight, picture it all: the raindrop, the shell, the storm, the galaxy, turning slowly together in perfect roundness. The cosmos looking at itself through your eyes, through its reflection, through time. From the moment we open our eyes as infants, our brains are drawn to circles. We reach for faces, for the curve of a parent's smile, for the soft shape of eyes that mirror our own. Roundness feels safe, familiar, complete. Long before we understand what geometry is, our minds already recognize its power. Somewhere deep in the folds of the brain, ancient circuits still whisper the same preference. The universe itself seems to hold things that turn curve and close upon themselves bring peace. Neuroscientists have spent decades studying this quiet preference. They've discovered that humans instinctively find curved shapes more pleasant than sharp ones. When shown images of circles and triangles, the brain's emotional centers light up differently. Jagged edges trigger alertness, while smooth arcs evoke calm. The reason is evolutionary. In the natural world, sharp lines often meant danger, claws, thorns, teeth. Curves, on the other hand, meant safety. Fruit faces the gentle horizons of landscape. Our brains evolved to trust the circle, but beyond survival, roundness touches something deeper: beauty itself. The artist Wassily Kandinsky once said that the circle is the most peaceful shape, representing the union of the finite and the infinite. When you gaze at a full moon, a droplet, or the iris of an eye, you're not just seeing form, you're witnessing balance. Psychologists call this the aesthetic of completion, the mind's tendency to find satisfaction in wholeness. The circle offers no beginning, no end, no conflict. It's serenity visualized. Inside the brain, this preference is measurable. When we view rounded objects, regions associated with reward, especially the orbitofrontal cortex, become active. Our nervous systems relax. Heart rate slows, breathing deepens. Even architecture and design exploit this truth. Curved spaces reduce stress, while sharp corners raise tension. Hospitals now incorporate rounded walls and circular lighting to comfort patients. City planners use roundabouts instead of intersections to soften the flow of movement. Subconsciously, we crave what nature already perfected. Our perception of the circle also shapes how we imagine the divine. Throughout history, halos have framed holy figures, mandalas have symbolized cosmic unity, and stone circles have marked sacred ground. Across cultures, the circle stands for eternity, perfection, and return. In the East, the Zen Enso, a hand-drawn circle painted in a single breath, represents enlightenment and impermanence, the beauty of an unbroken moment. In the West, the Ouroboros, a serpent devouring its own tail, signifies infinite renewal. Both symbols reflect the same truth. Our neurons already know peace is circular. Even our thoughts move in rounds. The brain's electrical activity flows in oscillations, waves of firing neurons that repeat in rhythm. Alpha, beta, theta, delta. Each frequency corresponds to a state of being. When you're relaxed, your brain synchronizes into slow, circular waves. When you dream, those waves deepen, looping like ripples in still water. Consciousness itself is not linear, but cyclical, pulsing between awareness and rest, attention and drift. Modern neuroscience calls this neural entrainment, the way the brain falls into rhythm with patterns around it. That's why repetitive sounds like the crash of waves or a heartbeat lull us to sleep. It's why watching the slow rotation of a planet or the flicker of candlelight can induce trance. The circle becomes not just something we see, but something we enter. This circular thinking extends to emotion and memory. Our moods cycle through peaks and valleys. Our recollections spiral back upon themselves, revisited and revised. Even language mirrors the motion. We say we come full circle or spiral into thought. Time in the brain's storytelling is rarely linear. We return to moments, people, dreams, looping endlessly through recollection until we make sense of them. Artists and philosophers have always felt this intuitively. Leonardo da Vinci filled his notebooks with spirals and concentric designs, calling them the lines of life. Jung saw mandalas, circular patterns drawn by patience, as symbols of the self, the psyche, striving for unity. To meditate on a circle, he said, was to move toward integration, the mind remembering its own center. This may explain why circular rituals bring calm. Chanting, drumming, and dancing in circles are found in every culture on earth. From whirling dervishes to the fire rings of ancient tribes, humans have always used rotation as prayer. To spin, to repeat, to trace the same path over and over, it aligns the body with rhythm, the mind with stillness. The circle becomes a bridge between the finite self and the infinite pattern that holds us all. Even modern science has joined that dance. When physicists search for the smallest building blocks of reality, they find symmetry and curvature everywhere. Electrons spin protons, swirl particles, orbit invisible centers. The equations that describe these motions resemble the same sine waves that define music. Our brains evolved to find pleasure in what the universe itself performs naturally. There's something poetic in that symmetry. The cosmos built a brain capable of admiring the very geometry it's made from. We are the universe perceiving its own curves, feeling comfort in its own balance. When you stand beneath a full moon or stare into another person's eyes, the sense of calm that fills you is not superstition, it's recognition. Your neurons are resonating with the same roundness that binds galaxies. This fascination even guides how we create technology. Our wheels are round because that's how movement flows, without resistance. Our satellites orbit in circles to mimic the efficiency of planets. Even our digital world relies on oscillations, waves of electricity curving through circuits billions of times per second. Every bit of data you read or hear travels in cycles, vibrations, and rotations. Roundness, then, is not just aesthetic, it is survival, thought, and connection. The brain's architecture mirrors the universe's loops of feedback networks of repetition systems that sustain themselves through cycles. Consciousness, too, may be a loop awareness, feeding back into itself, endlessly observing its own turning. Perhaps that's why circular thinking feels so peaceful before sleep. As your body relaxes, your mind begins to drift through loops of memory and imagination. The edges of thought soften, and you begin to spiral inward. Your breathing finds its rhythm. Your heartbeat slows into symmetry. You are becoming once more part of the pattern. And in that moment, that quiet descent into rest, your brain is doing what the cosmos has always done, spinning gently toward balance, finding comfort in the curve. You are the circle thinking itself. You are the roundness remembering where it came from. As you fall asleep tonight, let that thought carry you in, out, round and round, until your dreams begin to turn with it. Long before telescopes, equations, or even written language, humanity looked upward and noticed a pattern. Everything turned. The sun crossed the sky in a glowing arc. The moon waxed and waned in a perfect rhythm. Seasons rose, faded, and returned. This endless repetition felt divine. And so across continents and millennia, our ancestors began to build circles of stone, clay, fire, and faith to mirror the heavens they saw above. The first temples were not squares or rectangles. They were rings. Göbekli Tepe, in modern-day Turkey, built more than 11,000 years ago, is a great stone circle, carved before the invention of writing or the wheel. Its pillars face the stars aligned with the celestial pole, as if the builders already knew that the gods moved in rounds. The site was not just a shrine, it was a message, a declaration that humanity had recognized its place in the rhythm of the cosmos. Thousands of years later, in the green fields of Britain, another circle rose from the earth Stonehenge. Each block, weighing tons, was arranged in arcs that mark the solstices. On the longest day of the year, the sun rises perfectly above the heel stone, flooding the center of the ring with light. For ancient people, this was proof that the heavens and the earth were connected through geometry. Their stones were instruments for measuring time, calendars of light, and cathedrals of motion. From the icy north to the deserts of Africa, similar patterns appeared. The Nabta Playa circle in the Egyptian Sahara, older even than Stonehenge, aligned with the summer solstice as well. Across the Atlantic, the Mayans built circular observatories like El Caracol in Chichen Itza, designed to track the movements of Venus, the planet of balance and beauty. Their calendars, carved in spirals of stone, captured the cycles of the sun, the moon, and the stars with astonishing precision. To them, time itself was a circle endlessly renewing. In ancient Egypt, the circles symbolized eternity. The sun god Ra was shown traveling across the sky in a golden disk, reborn each morning and dying each dusk only to return again. The pharaohs wore serpent-shaped crowns that curved into circles, symbolizing the endless return of life. Even their hieroglyph for eternity, the Shen, was a loop of rope tied around itself, protecting whatever name it encircled. Far to the east, in India and Tibet, sacred circles became art mandalas. Painted in delicate symmetry, they represented the cosmos itself, layers of existence radiating outward from a still center. Each color, each ring, each repeating pattern symbolized harmony between the human mind and the universe. Monks would spend weeks creating them from colored sand, only to sweep them away when finished, a lesson that even perfect circles must dissolve to begin again. The Chinese built their own geometry into the heavens and the earth. The Temple of Heaven in Beijing is circular, symbolizing the sky, while its base is square, symbolizing the earth. Emperors would stand at the center of the circular platform to pray, believing they were aligning the empire with the cosmos. The circular roof reflected the dome of the heavens, a meeting point between the mortal and the divine. In the Islamic world, geometry became a form of devotion. Architects designed mosques with domes that echo the firmament, vast echoing spheres where prayers rise like sound waves reverberating within creation. The circular patterns of Arabic art tessellations, stars, and rosettes are not mere decoration. They represent the infinite repeating unity of God's symmetry without beginning or end. To trace them is to meditate on eternity. The Greeks, inheriting the legacy of Egypt and Babylon, transformed the circle into philosophy. For them, perfection resided in the sphere. Plato called it the most complete shape because every point on its surface was equidistant from the center equality manifest in form. Aristotle imagined the heavens as nested spheres, each turning the stars and planets with crystalline precision. Even in their myths, roundness meant harmony. The Ouroboros, the serpent, eating its tail, symbolized the universe devouring and renewing itself. In the Americas, the native peoples built medicine wheels, sacred stone circles aligned with the four directions. Each quadrant represented a season, an element, a stage of life. To walk the wheel was to journey through existence itself, to remember the circle of birth, growth, death, and rebirth. The Lakota called this the sacred hoop, the symbol of balance between human life and the natural world. To break the hoop was to fall out of harmony with creation. Even in the far reaches of the Pacific, Polynesian navigators used the circle as map and compass. They charted stars that rose and set along the horizon, using their arcs to guide canoes across thousands of miles. For them, the sea was a sphere turned sideways, a living, breathing universe where islands floated like constellations. Their journeys were acts of faith in circular motion, trusting that every departure was also a return. Across all these cultures, one truth endures: humanity found holiness, not in straight lines, but in the curve. The circle meant completeness, equality, and return. It was the first geometry of faith, the shape of both heaven and home. But beyond the monuments and symbols, the circle also lived within human ritual. Fires were built in rings, dances performed in spirals, stories told in cycles. The rhythm of festivals followed the seasons, prayers repeated with each rising moon. The repetition itself became sacred. Every turning of the year reminded ancient people that they belonged to a universe of returning patterns. Today, we still gather in circles around tables, around candles, around one another. We still celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, solstices, the same rotations of time our ancestors marked with stone and fire. We build stadiums, domes, and observatories, shaped like the sky, continuing the same instinct that once raised Stonehenge. When we stand in a circle, something ancient awakens. We can see everyone equally. There is no front or back, no beginning or end. It is the geometry of connection, a shape that says, "We are one." As you close your eyes tonight, imagine those ancient circles glowing softly in the dark. Temples, rings, fires, wheels, all turning still across continents and centuries. Humanity has always known that to honor the heavens is to imitate their motion. The stars above us form circles, and so do the people below. The pattern continues unbroken. And somewhere between the two, your heartbeat joins the rhythm, another sacred circle turning quietly in the night. If you could step outside time, beyond galaxies and beyond thought itself, and look back at the universe from nowhere, you would see it for what it truly is. Not a cloud, not a collection of stars, but a sphere. A single expanding bubble of space-time, swelling into something we cannot name. Everything we know, every atom, every memory, every breath, lives on the surface of that growing roundness. The universe is not exploding into space. It is space stretching in every direction, equally a perfect silent circle that never ends. When cosmologists speak of the universe expanding, they don't mean things are moving through emptiness. Rather, space itself is stretching like dots drawn on a balloon that inflates from within. Each galaxy drifts away from the others, not because it is traveling, but because the fabric beneath it is lengthening. The distances between them grow, and yet the ratio of expansion stays the same. A cosmic rhythm measured by the Hubble constant, the heartbeat of creation. It began nearly 13.8 billion years ago, in a moment without dimensions. The Big Bang was not an explosion, but a release of space and time from a single dense point. From that seed, energy unfolded like a flower blooming in all directions, round and even. Temperature, gravity, light, all radiated outward in balance. The universe has been expanding ever since, cooled by its own breath, carrying the memory of that first symmetry in every particle. At first, the expansion slowed, tugged backward by gravity's pull. Then, billions of years later, something astonishing happened. It began to accelerate. Galaxies started drifting apart faster, as if an unseen force were pushing them outward. Physicists call this dark energy, a mysterious pressure woven into space itself. They don't yet know what it is, only that it acts like a breath that never exhales, forever urging the universe to grow. If you could see the expansion from above, you'd watch countless galaxies flowing outward in perfect proportion, like sparks from a single fire. Their motion is not random, it's smooth, harmonic. Space stretches evenly in every direction. From any point, the universe looks the same. Every observer, wherever they are, stands at the center of expansion. The cosmos in its generosity gives everyone their own middle. That symmetry may be the most beautiful idea in all of science. No place is special, no vantage superior. The circle includes all. As the universe grows, it carries its past within its curves. The ancient light from the Big Bang, the cosmic microwave background, still surrounds us like a soft, invisible glow. It's the oldest light we can see, the echo of creation's first flicker. When we map it, we find faint ripples, the first tiny imperfections that would later become galaxies. Those ripples are the fingerprints of gravity, learning how to sculpt matter, the first brushstrokes on an infinite canvas. And though it expands endlessly, the universe is finite in age, bound by its own roundness. Cosmologists describe it as spatially flat, yet curved through higher dimensions, a paradox that means if you traveled in one direction long enough, you might return to where you began. The circle is not only around you, it is everything you walk upon. Every second, new space is born between galaxies. Every particle drifts slightly farther from its neighbor. The light we send outward stretches into longer, redder waves until it fades into silence. The stars you see tonight are ghosts. Their light began its journey long before humans existed, and some of them have already died. Yet their light still travels, still moves outward, still circles. It's possible that this expansion will continue forever, thinning the universe into cold emptiness. Or perhaps one day gravity will slow the motion, halting it before pulling everything back in. Scientists call this hypothetical return the Big Crunch, the mirror image of the Big Bang, when space itself collapses back into a single point, ready to begin again. Some theories suggest this has already happened countless times. Expansion, contraction, rebirth, universes, breathing in cycles infinite and eternal. If that's true, then we are living in one turn of an infinite circle, a brief shimmer in the ongoing heartbeat of existence. Every galaxy, every life, every story is a pulse in the rhythm of expansion and return. The universe itself might be dreaming, exhaling worlds, inhaling silence, round and round forever. And yet within that vastness, the same geometry appears on every scale. Electrons orbit nuclei, planets orbit stars, stars orbit galaxies. Galaxies orbit the gravitational wells of clusters. Each motion mirrors the expansion itself, circles within circles, each turning according to its own rhythm, each whispering the same phrase, "Keep moving." Astronomers say the universe has no edge, but the human mind keeps searching for one. We want to know where it ends, what lies beyond the dark, but maybe there is no beyond, only return. The circle doesn't have a boundary. It folds back into itself, infinite, yet complete. If you stand beneath the night sky and imagine the stars drifting away, you might feel small, but you're not outside that expansion, you are part of it. The atoms in your body were born in the same fire that began the universe. The iron in your blood was forged in the cores of stars that lived and died long before Earth existed. Their ashes became dust, their dust became you. When you breathe, the carbon you exhale will one day drift into new stars, new worlds. You are the universe continuing its expansion through thought and breath. And maybe that's the quiet truth hidden behind all this mathematics. The circle of expansion isn't just physical, it's spiritual. The cosmos grows because awareness grows. Every question, every discovery, every act of wonder stretches the universe a little wider. The stars are not only moving away from us, they are making room for our understanding. So when you lie awake at night, think of the galaxies spinning outward like sparks, the space between them humming with invisible energy. You are floating within that expansion, part of the same unbroken curve. The circle never ends. It only changes its scale. The universe turns outward, and within it, you turn inward, two motions completing each other. Perhaps someday, when time folds back on itself, the circle will close, and the universe will remember this moment. A tiny being, breathing, dreaming, marveling at its own endlessness. And when that happens, somewhere beyond all knowing, the circle will begin again. If you've made it here to the end of this long journey, through orbits, spirals, and spheres, then pause for a moment. Let the silence between words widen. Let it stretch like the space between stars. Because what remains now is not more knowledge but understanding. The circle we've followed across the universe is the same one that lives inside you. Everything that has ever turned the electrons, the moons, the galaxies, turns in you too. The same physics that shapes planets spins inside your cells. The same gravity that binds galaxies together binds you gently to the earth. Even the rhythm of your breath echoes the cosmic expansion and contraction that has governed existence since the beginning. Inhaling, exhaling, the small universe within the larger one endlessly returning to balance. When you look up at the night sky, what you see is not far away. Those points of light are fragments of your own story. The carbon in your body was made in a red giant's heart. The calcium in your bones was born from a dying star's final explosion. The iron in your blood once swam in rivers of molten light. Every element that keeps you alive was forged in the crucible of motion, hurled outward in spirals, and cooled into matter that could one day become thought. You are not separate from the universe's history. You are its continuation. Think of how improbable that is. For billions of years, particles have collided, fused, and reassembled each time, remembering how to turn. From that endless motion emerged consciousness, awareness, that can look back and ask, why does everything turn? In that question lies the universe, observing itself, the circle, recognizing its own reflection. The philosopher Alan Watts once said, "You are a function of what the whole universe is doing," in the same way that a wave is a function of what the whole ocean is doing. You are not floating in space. You are the movement of space itself, momentarily awake. The roundness of the cosmos is not out there. It's here behind your eyes, in the quiet rotation of your thoughts. Every breath you take continues the story of the stars. Every blink of your eyes repeats the rhythm of day and night. You are both the observer and the orbit, the dreamer and the dream. And so the question changes. It's no longer why everything turns, but why you do. Why your heart refuses to still. Why your thoughts keep circling back. Why your life, even in its wandering, finds symmetry. Perhaps because stillness is not the nature of existence. Stillness is the illusion of scale motion too large or too small for us to see. Close your eyes now. Imagine yourself floating above the earth, looking down at the soft blue sphere, turning slowly through shadow and sunlight. You can see continents drift, clouds twist into spirals, auroras shimmer at the poles like the pulse of a living creature. From here there are no straight lines, no edges. Only rounds upon rounds, everything moving in balance. That is home. Zoom out farther, and you see the Earth as one of many small planets looping around a golden star, that star circling the center of the Milky Way, the galaxy itself spinning like a giant wheel of light. Keep going, and the galaxies form filaments, threads, weaving through a cosmic web, each node a whirlpool of matter. The structure looks eerily familiar, a vast network that resembles the neural pathways in your brain, the universe thinking itself through you. Perhaps that is the ultimate symmetry consciousness, mirroring cosmos. The mind and the stars sharing the same architecture, both built from circles, both endlessly creating. And what of death? It too is not an ending, but another turn. The energy that animates you will dissolve and scatter just as stars do. It will join clouds of dust, perhaps one day lighting new suns, new worlds. Life doesn't vanish, it changes orbit. The circle of being widens to include everything. You can feel it, can't you? The gentle rotation beneath your body right now. The Earth carrying you quietly through space at 1,000 kilometers per hour. You don't sense it directly, but your heart knows it. Your inner ear feels balance, because it was born in a turning world. Every fiber of you is attuned to spin. So as you drift into rest, let yourself imagine this. You are falling, but you never land. You are orbiting something invisible, peace perhaps, or the memory of where you came from. Gravity isn't pulling you down, it's holding you close. The same force that keeps the planets from flying away is what keeps your mind from breaking apart. Balance, harmony, the curve that contains everything. The great physicist Brian Greene once wrote that the universe is a cosmic symphony with each of us playing our tiny part. If that's true, then your heartbeat is your instrument, your breath, your rhythm. You are part of the music of turning your life a single measure in an endless score. When you wake tomorrow, you'll find the world still turning. The sun will rise not upward, but as a result of our planet's patient spin. The air will move in circles. The tides will rise and fall. The atoms in your body will continue their quiet rotations. The same roundness that carried you to sleep will carry you into a new day. And someday, far beyond memory, the circle will bring you home, not to an ending, but to a beginning, so familiar it feels like rest. Until then, keep breathing, keep orbiting, keep listening. The universe is still humming its soft, round song. Everything turns, and you turn with it.